this episode, we move on to the concept of energy and flow in your home. Funnily enough, whenever I mention my work as the healthy home therapist, normally people say to me, is that Feng Shui? Even though it's only one of the 12 concepts I work with, I believe energy and flow is super important for a healthy home. There's a reason it's been popular for over 3,000 years as a practice and is super popular with celebrities and high-powered individuals. So if you hadn't already guessed it, Feng Shui is what we're chatting about today with TV expert and host of the Feng Shui Flow podcast, Kimberly Gallagher. For all my manifestation lovers out there, Kimberly really believes that Feng Shui is the missing link to unlocking next level manifestation powers. We look at how to optimize health, wealth, and romance in your life by making some simple tricks around the home. I really hope you find this episode fun. Hi everyone, welcome to the Healthy Home Show, and today I have with me Kimberly Gallagher from the Feng Shui Flow, and I really hope that I've pronounced that correctly. That was actually going to be my first question to you, Kimberly. Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm so good. Thank you ever so much for having me on. And the first point is, do you know what? Just pronounce it however you want to do it. I think that half of that is probably what puts people off because they go, I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm just not going to go into it. So I call it Feng Shui. I have many people that message me on Instagram to say, you do know actually it's Feng Shui. I'm like, well,
Oh, really?
yes, but also I'm Northern. So everything I overpronounce my vowels. So I say Feng Shui. It can be Feng Shui, it can be Feng Shui, however you want to do it.
Okay, brilliant. Well, that's good. That's good to get that out of the way because I'm going to be tripping over that probably throughout the interview. But so first of all, I want to say thanks very much. I know you're in Australia, so it's amazing to be able to get the opportunity to speak with you. I was looking at your website yesterday, and I just love the work that you're doing, kind of bringing Feng Shui back into all our kind of awareness and consciousness, really, because it's been out there for years. I mean, we talked earlier about, the fact that we were influenced by people like Richard Branson and Oprah Winfrey and, people I've worked with before, sort of super celebrity people that seem to be using Feng Shui in their lifestyles. Is that what influenced you to get into Feng Shui? What was the turning point for you that made you curious about Feng Shui in the first place?
So I was actually a teacher for 10 years and I was made redundant over lockdown, and lockdown was a very tricky period of time for everybody. And within that time, I decided I wanted to be a lot more conscious about where the information I listened to came from. The news was getting me down. My mental health was suffering from it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to start listening to more podcasts and really open up my ears and mind to other stuff that's going on out there. And I just so happened to stumble across a podcast of a Feng Shui consultant who was actually on my friend's podcast, and I listened to it, and my initial thought was, what a load of rubbish. What is she on about? And they were talking about how she could make some changes in her home to attract a partner. And I thought, how is that even possible? Like, how can you just change some things? And, anyway, 2 weeks later, my friend met somebody, and although it wasn't quite the right person she was looking for, but she did meet somebody, and that hadn't happened for a while. And I thought, okay, I've got a bit of time in my hands in lockdown, I'll do some research. So Google, Google was the answer to everything then. And I came across the fact that so many hotels around the world were Feng Shuied, so many airports, shopping centres, and also, as you mentioned before, some like super successful business people as well. Not just, your celebrity that you see, but really successful people that make a lot of money. And I thought, well, why do they know about it? And I don't, because I'm here with my daughter homeschooling. My husband was at work every day because he worked in construction. So literally it was my dog and my daughter. I was like, I'm not really holding this down very well. I need all the help that I can get. So I had my home analysed, and as I say, I was made redundant. I was looking, I started a new business in February 2020. Obviously not the best time to start. It was like quite a public facing selling business. That was tricky. And it just wasn't going anywhere. And so a month after Feng Shuiing my home, my life completely changed. A business opportunity came up, which was a an email from the lady that Feng Shuied my home to say she was running the last ever certification course. So up until that point, I had no desire to be a Feng Shui consultant. And I just thought, you know what? My home feels so amazing. We're calm, we're happy, we've got a sense of humor back, the stress has been absorbed. And I thought, I want to share this with people. I want to learn how on earth this works, and I want to share it with as many people around the world as possible. And that's literally how it happened, pretty much by accident.
Fantastic. And it sounds like, I mean, you've been getting your message out there loads around Feng Shui. You were the this morning expert for Feng Shui. How did that happen?
Yeah. So again, just a very, in fact, I was listening to Chris Evans' breakfast show this morning. I still listen to him even though I'm over in Australia. And he was talking about sliding doors moments. And it pretty much was, I started my business in November 22, so not that long ago. And in the late January, I know I have a friend of a friend who works on This Morning, and they were doing something for Chinese New Year. And it was a very male heavy show. There was Gok Wan, there was some Chinese dragons, somebody with a giant rabbit, the type of things that happen on This Morning, so random. And they just wanted to, they wanted a female person on there that wasn't crazy. And I mean, I'm a little bit crazy, but and so that's how it came about. And they rang me and said, would you like to come on? And I jumped at the chance, and it was probably the most petrifying but exhilarating thing that I've ever done in my life. And I mean, you show up on Instagram, don't you? And that takes a certain amount of guts and, sweaty palms and, your anxiety through the roof. And then there's another level of that where you sat on the sofa with, who was it, Dermot and Alison, and all of a sudden you've got these giant cameras in your face and you're trying to talk about something that the majority of people watching know nothing about, and you're there to sell it. But I remember at that point I sat there and I literally looked at this camera, and they're ginormous, like they're way bigger than I thought they were going to be. And I was so nervous, I was shaking. And I thought, right, just have a word with yourself. If you want to take this where you want to take it, you've got to be okay with this. And that was it. I just took a deep breath and thought, this is what I want to do. If I want to share the magic of Feng Shui all around the world, I need to be okay in these pretty petrifying situations. And I need to make the most of every opportunity that I get. But I want to have fun with it as well. I don't want to be this, really strict Feng Shui consultant that makes you want to move home and, decide that you're doomed forever, because there are books that make you think that. I remember reading a book thinking, well, yeah, I live in a cottage built in 1569. We've got beams everywhere, tiny windows. We're doomed. But I think because I managed to turn around our home that wasn't Feng Shui friendly at all, that I believe that everybody can just implement even teeny tiny little things that don't cost anything. They can make the hugest changes in your life. And that's why I want to stand on a soapbox and just shout about it.
Fantastic. Right. Well, let's get stuck in then to what we can do to change our homes and lives, because I'm super inspired. So you said that you started with a home analysis, basically. What is that process? Yes. Is that where you would suggest everyone starts?
Not necessarily. I think I share a lot on Instagram and on my podcast, and these things are like little shifts in energy, things that, make complete sense, like decluttering your wardrobe makes you feel good. We all know that feels good. But actually, the Feng Shui behind that is that the energy is clearer. And the whole point of Feng Shui is that it gets rid of negative energy. It unblocks energy, you get energy blocks in your house, so it releases those and it lets the good energy flow again. So it's like acupuncture for the home. the more stuff that's in the way in your home, the harder it is for that good energy to circulate. And so it gets stuck and it just sits there. So in your wardrobe that's bursting at the seams, not only is there maybe stuff in there that makes you feel rubbish because it was 10 years old, or you don't fit into it because, you've had a child, or guess what? Your body shape changes when you get older, and you just keep this stuff and it sort of haunts you every time you go into your wardrobe. So you've got the negativity of your own mind telling you that this is making you feel rubbish, but then also the energy is getting stuck because it hasn't got room to circulate around your home. So I think there's so many things you can do before you go to the analysis. And the analysis that's where we look at exactly what's happening energetically in your home. So I look at your floor plans, when the home was built, where it sits geographically, and then we use the 5 elements to remedy that. So water, fire, wood, earth, and metal, just like Chinese medicine. But that's really for homes where there's a lot going on. And some homes are just built that way. Some homes, in the West, we don't consider the good places to build and bad places to build for Feng Shui. We just build wherever there's space. But sometimes it's because there's like a history of stuff that's gone off in the home. So I often work with people where they know that the previous 2 owners have got separated or divorced in that home, or they're buying a home and the last person that lived there was very poorly. And so that tends to be when I come in and go, okay, this is, there's no amount of decluttering is going to get rid of this energy. So there's lots of things that you can try. And for some homes where the energy is just generally quite good, these little changes are going to make massive differences. But for other homes where, if I asked you to describe the personality of your home, like, how would you describe it? Is it happy? Is it light? Is it fun? Has it got a sense of humor? Or is it a bit stuck in its ways, a bit grumpy? Our house was like that. Whenever we tried to modernize it with any form of technology or Wi-Fi, it just wasn't having it. It was like, no, I want to stay in the 60s, I want to stay this old. And so they're the homes that just take a little bit more tweaking. But there's so many things that you can do. And what we do in Feng Shui is we divide the home into 9 different areas, and each of these areas relate to different areas of our life. And there's lots of different schools of Feng Shui, and I think that's what makes it really complicated, because you might read one article in one book and it says that you take the front door as the north, and then you've got me that says, no, you use your actual compass. So for me, I practice Flying Stars Feng Shui, and that's where we use the actual compass. So you've got one on your phone. You may not have used one since DV at school. It's all a learning curve. But we find these 9 areas, and all of them relate to things like health, wealth, love and romance. Just like in your body when you have acupuncture, you get a needle in your ankle, and that's for your lungs. Like it doesn't really make sense, but that's what it does. And so that way, when you work on these areas, it can really make improvements on those areas of your life.
Amazing. And so I know that at the moment everyone's struggling a little bit. We're in a bit of a kind of a cost of living crisis. So is the area that you look at first wealth necessarily, or what do people normally ask you for first?
I think what I tend to start with is health, because without, and I'm sure this is what you do in your work as well, like without your health, you have nothing. So you can't go out and earn all this money if you're not feeling the best. And it's actually a really easy part to find a new home because it's a center. So the center, literally, if you got your floor plans, drew measurements, equidistance all the way around, that's the center of your home. And this looks after your mental health. your physical health, and also things like your self-acceptance, which comes under anxiety as well. So all of these things that, eat away at us. And sometimes if you're going through perimenopause and menopause, that anxiety, like it tends to whack you in your 40s, like out of nowhere. And so the center of your home is something that is really important. And there's a couple of tips I would say. So first of all, you want to declutter it. Quite often in a modern home, many homes, the center is the stairs, and we often have understair storage. So even if you've rammed it in a cupboard, I'm afraid it still counts. Like, we still have to cleanse out some of these things, and also just make sure that everything is working in your home, especially in the center. So anything that's broken, anything that's chipped or cracked, like if you just think, like, each of those things just has a bit of a spiky energy. And so when the good energy is going past it, it's like, ouch, like if it went past something that was cracked or not working or chipped, it sort of just changes the frequency of that energy. So make sure that it's all working, make sure that it's decluttered. And then my biggest tip for the center, which is probably the one that hits the worst, is that I advise not to burn candles in the center of your home, because you're burning off effectively the energy of your health. And I think I have candles in my wealth area, in my love and romance area, but I just think, especially at the minute, we need to be so protective of our health, that really love and nurture that central area. And then when you've done that, then that's when you can move onto your wealth area. And the wealth area is then in the southeast of your home. So you literally stand in the center with the compass flat on your hand, and you just pivot around in a circle until you see it pointing southeast, and you just walk as far as you can in that direction. Ignore walls. And that's that southeast area, and that looks after your wealth. Now, one of the things that I'm quite passionate about is that I teach modern day Feng Shui, and the practice has been around for 4,000 years. It's such a beautiful practice, but I do believe that our lives have changed a lot, and the way that we live in our homes and the way we use our homes has changed a lot. And we have a lot more technology. We have open plan spaces. We have, lots of different energies going off, from music to candles to work. All of these things are all happening in our home. And so traditional Feng Shui, you may have heard people may have like a lucky cat or something like that, or wealth vases. And I have none of these in my home. And it's not because I don't think that they work, but what I do believe is that whatever you have in your home, you have to relate to. And it almost comes back to like manifestation. And I truly believe, for me, Feng Shui was like the missing part of the manifestation puzzle. I was trying. The Post-it notes were everywhere. I was saying it out loud in the car. I was doing everything, but nothing was really working. And what I believe is that when the energy in your home is off, no matter how hard you manifest, that message just can't get out there to the universe, to God, whoever, spirit, whatever it is that you think is out there that's looking after you, sliding doors, whatever it is. And it's a bit like having a phone in a wooded area. Like, you have the skills to make the call, the things to make the call, but the call can't get out there because the wooded area is blocking that reception going out. And that's what I feel about the energy in your home. I feel that people like Roxy Nafusi, through Look Then Judgment, may just have a beautifully energized home. And so when she manifests, it literally comes true overnight. Amazing. But there's some of us that manifest like hell and it doesn't seem to work. And so for me, it's just clearing that energy in the home, but then also using things that resonates with you. So in the southeast of your home, what is it to you that means wealth? Because if I look at a lucky cat or a wealth jar, I don't go, oh, that screams wealth to me. I'm like, oh, that just looks a bit off in a modern day lounge, So actually for me, wealth means traveling with my family. So having things
Ah.
like pictures of us on holiday where we're happy because that's time and that's, that's money to be able to go away. So actually in the wealth area of my home, I just have travel pictures of us going around and travel brochures and all things like that, because that's what wealth means to me. So I think that's perhaps where I bridge the gap a little bit between the traditional side of things and the modern day side of things. I want people to look at these things and resonate with them, because then it improves their energy. And if you're looking at manifestation or, your own vibration, when you're vibrating at a happier level, you attract better things back into your life. And that's what it's about. It's about improving your own energy, improving the energy in your home so that you can attract beautiful things into your life.
Yeah, I love that analogy that you said about the mobile phone not being able to create a signal, sorry, to like your higher power or whatever
Mm.
it is, whatever energy that you're trying to harness basically in your manifestation. I love that. I'm just trying to think at the moment, where is my southeast corner? Is there anything apart from decluttering? Is there anything that we should be looking out for in our key 9 areas that might be blocking energy, or that might help us kind of change up the energy in those areas?
Decluttering is amazing. Like, that is a really good thing to do, but everyone knows about decluttering. So there's some feng shui things that we can do. And there's some do's and don'ts. Now, I'm a people pleaser, so I'm not very good at telling people, like telling no to people. So there's a few no-nos that I stick to, hard and fast rules. And one of those is it's a no to artificial flowers and cacti. And the reason
Ah,
for that, and I know they're really popular and I know they look beautiful and I know some of them look really, really pretty. I get that. But Feng Shui is about, to think about artificial flowers, dried flowers, Feng Shui is about life and energy. And it's about growing and growth and bringing that into your home. And artificial flowers, they just like the opposite of that. They're stagnant. They're trying to be something that they're not. They're not growing. They're collecting dust. Like, I know you can clean them, but from a feng shui point of view, I have many clients who have cleared their artificial flowers from their home and they've felt a huge shift in the energy in their home. And I am not green fingered in the slightest. Like, keeping real plants alive is not my thing, but just give it a go. But it's, I think in Feng Shui, you see life and energy in plants, in animals. And so you wouldn't necessarily have, and I know some people do, like a dead animal on your wall, like that. Even though it's an animal and a plant, in Feng Shui it's all energy. And
mhm.
so that's sort of like the link there. But with cacti and anything spiky, that is just giving off a spiky, edgy energy.
Mm.
And again, it's something that you wouldn't want in your home or even at the entrance of your home. I know in Australia and hotter climates like around here, there's a house just down the road, like all at the entrance is just full of cacti. You think, well, every time you're walking past that, like you walk past it and go, oh, like I just wouldn't, like you sort of take yourself away from it a little bit. And so anything like that in your home, you want to relax in your home. So having anything that is worth a lot of money, very fragile, makes you feel on edge, just don't have those things in the living areas or in your bedroom, because you want to relax. Like, that's the whole point of those areas. So, if you've got a dining table and you've got kids running around and you're like, don't touch the dining table, and it puts you on edge, then that's going to affect your energy in that area. So they're the sort of plant do's and don'ts.
Mm.
The other thing I'd say with that is the good energy is coming in through our front door. So that's where the good energy is coming in, and the bad energy is leaving through the back door. And so every day, if you can, just open up the back door first, let the bad energy out. And we all know what it's like. You open that window, you just breathe in that fresh air, and it just instantly makes you feel better. Like opening the windows, getting that flow of air in your home. It's just a flow of energy. And then close the back door, and then go and open the front door and fill your home with that good energy. Now, with that, what I would say is then if you think you can imagine this beautiful energy coming in your home, you just want to be a little bit aware of what's outside your home. So
Hmm.
what is that energy coming past? Is it piles of welly boots and shoes and dead leaves and plants and all things like that? And so keeping that clear of those things is going to help the quality of the energy coming in. And then once the
Okay.
energy is actually inside of your home, trying, if you have shoes, put them in like a laundry basket with a lid on or a cubby hole, because again, that energy is going to pick up past those shoes and bring it into your home. And if you've got loads of coats at your entrance as well, it's just going to make it really hard for that energy to physically come and fill every room in your home. So I just want you just to imagine almost this sort of like angelic white energy coming around your home. Can it get everywhere? Do you open up your doors every day all around the house so that the energy can just circulate? So there's just a few little things that you can just start off by doing.
Amazing. And if you only have one door, do you use your one
It's
front
a good
door?
question.
Yeah, go for it.
No, it's a good question. So, and this is where you sort of get a bit more layered with it. So if you own an apartment or a flat, this is slightly different. So actually your front door is your balcony or your windows looking out onto the view, because that's where the light is coming into your home. So that's your front door there, the balcony and the windows. And then your bad energy is going to be leaving via your entrance door. So that sort of smaller door.
Hmm.
If you have one door on one side of your home, so if you live in a townhouse or like a shop, for example, as well, it's the same theory. You then use your doors and windows with intention. So what I say is that the door is actually what brings in the good energy, and then the windows would then let the bad energy out. So you just sort of separate the two, but just with intention, just letting in and letting go.
Okay, so you would bring in the energy where there's kind of more light. I'm just thinking about my apartment
Yes.
here, and basically it faces out over the sea, which is lovely, but there's only one front
Beautiful.
door effectively, and it goes into a really drab corridor. So normally what I do intuitively in the morning is kind of open the windows that look out over the sea, because obviously you
Yes.
like to have the kind of sea
Yes.
energy
That
come
would be
in.
your front. Yes,
Ah, okay, great. And
absolutely.
then I'd let out the bad energy through a back window or through the front door that's into the horrible
Through
corridor.
your front door, probably. Yes, onto
Great.
the corridor, out onto the corridor. Let that just go. So it's the principle is based on yin and yang, and we may have heard about it. We may have known people that, the tattoos that we use, that were around in the 80s, 90s. But the yin and the yang, so the yang is this beautiful bright energy. It's the effervescence, it's life, it's brightness. And so the yang the yang facing of your home, wherever that is, the yang area of the outside of your home is where the good energy will be coming in. And then the yin, which is rhymes with dim, and that's how I remember that yin, and that's the lower energy, the darkness, the dim. That's how I remember a lot of things. And so that's where the bad energy leaves. So if you think, okay, so where is the light shining into my home? That's most probably where the good energy is coming, and that darker area is where the bad energy needs to be leaving.
Ah, brilliant. I've actually become slightly obsessed recently with the way that, with the direction in which I'm sleeping. So I read somewhere, and
Yes.
I'd like to know your opinion on this, that you ideally should sleep with your head to the east, but all directions were better than north, basically, because of the kind of magnetic pull around the earth and our bodies. So I've probably got that completely wrong, but I've realized that in my
No,
house
not at all.
there's no way I can sleep with my head
Do you
to the
know what?
east. So
No. I think so. Again, this comes under the different schools of feng shui. There's a school of feng shui that believes, in certain directions for sleeping. The good news is that in Flying Stars feng shui, actually, it's more about the position of your bed in the bedroom versus the geographic sort of direction of your bed.
mm,
So we call it the command position. So if it makes you feel better, I've got no idea which direction my head is at, my feet is at, because I think, do you know what, I've got enough to worry about in this world. If I need to worry about where my head and feet are, then I think that might send me over the edge. So actually what we look at is sleeping and working as well, but we'll do sleeping first. Sleeping in the command position, which is where your head is against a solid wall and you can see the door, preferably the side of you, because if it's in front of you, that can cause a bit of an energy flow that can interrupt your sleep, but it's better than the door being behind you. And the reason for that is because having a solid wall behind you, it gives that sense of solidarity and of strength. And therefore, feeling like you're secure in is going to make you sleep better because you feel secure, rather than underneath a window where it's a little bit fragile, but also because you can see the door. So you can see what's physically or metaphorically coming into your life, and you're not having to think, was that something in the hallway? Like, is that, if you've got children, like, is one of them up and about, or is the dog there or the cat there? You can actually see it. So the command position is what's more important. And that's the same with desks as well. So in office spaces, but quite often in homes, we build the desk into the wall, so we're facing the wall with our back towards the room, whereas in Feng Shui you would change that around. So if you think of movie scenes where they go into a big lawyer's office, a lawyer will be sat there with their back against the wall, and it's like, you're coming into my space. Or you think of your headmaster's or headmistress's room at school, like, you're coming into my space and you're in trouble. That's like the command position. So for me, like, with a wall behind me when I work, and then I can see again what is either metaphorically or physically coming my way, and it just helps with that concentration and being able to settle down a little bit. Now, what I will say is, because people often panic then and they think, well, I've got the door behind me and I can't do anything about it. There is a little trick that you can do. And so if you sleep with your head on the same wall as the door, you can just put a little mirror opposite your bed that then reflects back onto the door. So you can see the reflection from where you're sleeping back onto the door. It can be tiny. It can be like a jewelry box that you just leave open. So it can be really subtle, and you can just see that. So that helps with that. And then if your desk, you can't change it around, or you may work in an open plan office and you have no say in where your desk is, again, a little compact mirror, like a makeup mirror, you can have in there on the desk just to look behind you. Or even if you want to be even more subtle, like a mirrored picture frame, so that then again you can see what's coming behind you, and it just will make you feel that little bit more settled. So don't worry whether it's east, west, north, whatever it is, don't worry.
Great. So there's all these strategic tricks that we can use to correct that situation, because obviously there's going to be times when you can't move walls or move things in the home. I've got a situation in mind, which I'm single, and I'm pretty sure it's because there's a beam running across the top of my bed and the ceiling. I've read before that that's a big no-no, and I'm like, well, I don't know how I'm going to change the ceiling. So are there any when we talk about relationships and Feng Shui and trying to find a partner, and are there any tips that you can give for that? I've read that you should always keep space for someone to come into your life by the side of you in the bed, and perhaps not have, as I do, loads of stuff stored under your bed. What are the tricks that we can use there?
So absolutely. So the theory behind the beam is that it sort of brings a pressure point down. And so if that beam is in between where you're sleeping and where somebody else may be sleeping, then that might be causing like an energetic sort of push down in between you. Again, our home in England was just full of beams and there wasn't anything I could do about it. So I was like, okay, we have to work around this. So if you can't do anything about it, I honestly believe, don't worry about it. There are plenty of other things that you can do. So the great thing is with love and romance. So that's what we sort of call it, the category in Feng Shui, is that you get two, you almost look like get two bonus areas. You get one area and then a bonus area to look after your love and relationships. So the southwest of your home looks after love and romance. So again, using your compass, but you can also use your bedroom energy as well. So you're absolutely right. You want to make space for that person in your life. And I analysed a lady's home today, actually, and she lives in a 1-bedroom apartment. She's got a lovely little balcony. But there was one chair on the balcony and she wants to meet somebody. So one of the things was, I was like, you need to go out and find another chair so that you have space for this person to come and sit in your favourite position. She's got a little rug on the balcony. She lived in Canada. Like, you want space to take in that view with somebody else. So the same with your bed. You want equal cushions on either side, a bedside table on either side, a bed light on either side, so that it's all nice and equal. And so you wouldn't have your bed against the wall, for example, because then it would be harder for somebody to make their way in. It's also about having room in your wardrobe. So would they have room to come and leave their clothes there? And on the dining table, do you have space for 2 chairs? In the lounge, is there place for 2 people to stay? The other thing that I would do is really look at your artwork as well. And so what often happens is we're sometimes quite drawn, especially if you're maybe a successful person by yourself, you've built up your own business. Sometimes we're drawn to artwork where there's one of something. So it might be one elephant, one lion, one tree, a strong woman. I worked with a lady and, she had an awful time and she pretty much had to start from scratch in her 40s, and she found a house. And one thing she had as she walked in was something along the lines of like, a queen lives here, or something like that, like a picture of a queen. And it was like, this is me, this is what I've done. And I was saying, okay, that's amazing, you've done it, but now you want somebody to come in. How would they feel seeing that? Like, that they're not necessarily welcome in your home. So it's having artwork that represents what having a partner means to you. So having, for example, a couple walking along a beach, like as a picture or a painting, having animals that have partners for life. So like swans are a beautiful example of this. Ducks, the same. Peonies are the plant of the flower of love. So you could have 2 peonies, but it's making sure you have 2 of everything. Like a heart, you would have 2 hearts. A rose quartz crystal, you would have 2 rose quartz crystals. And what you can do is put those crystals somewhere along, if you have a window in the southwest of your home as well, just to really activate the energy coming in, like just taking the energy and going, this is where I want you to concentrate. This is what I want to bring in. So I'm a huge believer of these visual affirmations around your home and really making it clear that you want 2 of whatever it is in your home.
I love what you mentioned about artwork there, because I realized recently that I was doing exactly that. I have a lovely painting by Jack Vetriano, which is a print, and it's called A Table for One, and it just has this kind of woman sitting there at a table, and I've had it over my bed for a while, and also my bedroom, and I'm like, oops, that's kind of not the energy that I was going for. So I've kind of taken that out of the bedroom. And I also have a really nice, well, yes, it hasn't made any difference yet, but we'll see. And also I had another print that was of Icon Tina Turner, and it's a really nice print. But then if you think about the energy behind that couple and behind that kind of, everything we know about the tumultuous relationship between Icon Tina Turner, I kind of thought about it a bit more, and I was like, that's not the kind of energy that I want to have in my house. The only thing is, it's worth a bit of money, so I don't want to take it off the wall. And it's just fascinating that when you start to think about the energy of things, actually, and even as you mentioned earlier, the energy of possessions and clothes. I think in this modern world where we're pushed to consume the whole time, it's really nice to kind of give a bit more kind of intentionality and a bit more consciousness about the things that we're buying and that we allow to be in our home. If you want to talk about, Marie Kondo's style of like, everything that you own should bring you joy. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a really nice thought to have. I was going to ask you about the use of water. I know that in Feng Shui, quite often they use water basically to change the flow of energy in places. And I'm actually
Yes.
just thinking about where I've put my water filter in the home. And I'm wondering whether I put it in the right place.
So yeah, water is a beautiful cleansing energy. It, like all of the elements, have their own sort of strengths, and it also brings love and romance. It brings wealth, prosperity, and abundance. It's a beautiful, beautiful element. But I wouldn't then say you've got to have a water feature in your home, because actually it depends on if that area needs cleansing. Because if that area is actually okay, then adding that element is just probably going to whip away the good energy. So what I say to people is, if you want to use the elements, absolutely, I can help you do that. I can find out what's happening in your home and we can remedy it. But what I wouldn't do is just add them, because just in case you just change that energy in a little bit of a different way. It's a bit like embarking on if you're allergic to some sort of food and then you just start playing around with it and go, well, I'm going to eat loads of this and just see what happens. And then, your face is twice the size of it was the day before. It's that sort of thing. Like, it's just, you do have to be a little bit careful with the energy. So if you want to use the elements, absolutely, I can help you with that. But other than that, just start thinking about, as you say, like what you have in your home, what energy that brings. Just because someone's given it to you, it doesn't mean that you have to keep it. You can politely pass it on and give it a new home. And I think sometimes as well, we have this huge guilt from a sustainability point of view that we can't just get rid of things. And I think my point is that actually you do have that declutter. Give as much of it to people as you can, even if it costs you quite a bit of money, but it really makes you sad, because maybe it was a wedding dress from a previous relationship. Maybe it was a picture that, your father-in-law or ex-father-in-law, whatever, gave you. You can bring joy to somebody else's life and they can get it for a much cheaper price, a much more affordable price. It might be a suit that you wore 20 years ago. It might be a Chanel suit that you bought 20 years ago, but you don't wear it anymore. Somebody could buy that for a lot less money to go for a job interview that's going to change their life. So it's just changing how you feel about donating things. And then you can be sustainable, and then only let the things into your home that you're going to keep for a long period of time.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's such a brilliant thought. Thank you. So we talked a lot about inside the home and what we can do energy
Yes.
wise. If we're looking for a new home, or we're looking to rent a new home or buy a new home, are there any things that we should look out for on the outside, or where our kind of home is positioned, that will really help energy wise?
I think I would honestly tell people just to go with their gut instinct, because I truly believe that everything can be remedied. If you love homes because they've got beams and character, and you love the little tiny doorways and the thick walls and the little windows, then that's amazing. And when we bought our home over here in Australia, when I came to look around it, I didn't analyze it. I didn't want to know what was going on. I did think about what happened previously, and that's important, I think. But actually, the person was just selling to move to a bigger property. So I was like, okay, that's fine. It's only 2 years old. That's fine. It's no problem. I would just have a few red flags if there was a divorce history or an illness history, but I truly believe that anything can be remedied. So go with your gut. I think finding the right home is hard enough without someone like me saying, well, if it's near a pylon, or if it's near a junction or a roundabout, or do you live near Heathrow? Like that, it just adds too much pressure to the house buying process. And I think that's where I hopefully bring a bit of freshness to Feng Shui, that go with your gut, because Feng Shui, a lot of it is instinctive. It's, it is opening the windows and it makes you feel better. When you're changing the sheets, open the windows, like all of these things, we're aware of it. So go with your instinct with the property. If you love it, move in, see how things feel, give it a few months. And if things really aren't working out the way that they should, then that's when we can help and we can change things. But you may move in and it suits your personality. The two of you get on really well. It's, your house is like the third person in your relationship. Like you can get on, but sometimes it takes a little bit of settling time. Sometimes you just don't get on at all. And Feng Shui like bridges that gap, and it means that the energy between you gets on, and your friends and your home should support you. And so just see how you get on in your home. And if you still feel like you're arguing with your home, then that's when I can help.
How would you say that Feng Shui differs or doesn't differ with energy clearing? Because I'm always going around with my sage and my Palo Santo trying to create more positive energy in the home. And I'm never sure where that crosses over with Feng Shui, or do the two go hand in hand?
They definitely go hand in hand. Energy clearing with sage, you can even use a candle if you want to. Like if you don't like the smell of sage, you can do that, and that's amazing. But what that does, it just clears the present energy. So actually, as soon as you've stopped, a few hours later, the energy is going to be building up again. And the energy of Feng Shui, when we look at what's happening in your home, has been there for years. It's from the ground. It's from, even if your home is a new build, it can still have this energy within it. So it does do a job a little bit, but it's only going to clear what's happening at that moment. And so Feng Shui just looks at a deeper level. And so for example, in our home here, obviously the remedies are in place. They go in every Feng Shui New Year in February. I rarely sage our home. I rarely do things like the remedies are in, it's working. I know it's cleansing the energy every day. And sometimes if something's happened, I'm like, do you know what? I'll give it a bit of sage because it just feels a bit edgy in here today. But apart from that, it just means that I can forget about it. And so that's I guess the difference. The sage is a bit of like here and now. Oh, somebody's just come in, they're a bit edgy. But the remedies look at that deeper level and really clear what's been going on for many, many years.
Fantastic. So, Kimberly, before I let you go, where do we start? So we're super convinced. We all want to try Feng Shui now. What's the first step? Where would you say to people, okay, this is the first thing you need to do?
Okay, so I don't want to do like a self plug, but this is a really good way to start. So my website is the fengshuiflow.com, and on there's a free download that tells you where the 9 areas of your home are. So the southwest for love and romance, the center for your health, the southeast, and it tells you where these 9 areas are. Then what you can do is think, okay, which area of my life is it that I'm really struggling with? And it might be there's fertility on there, for example, there's family, there's community, there's career and business. So there's all these things that come under these 9 areas. And just start there, identify the area, and just almost do like an inventory of stuff that's in that area. Look at the artwork, look at what you're holding on to. So, for example, if you're wanting to attract a new job, a new career, are you holding on to lanyards from jobs that you've had 10 years ago? I remember when I was moving from being a teacher to to the new business that I started, I still had my teaching books and my folders. And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So why am I keeping hold of them? So just with fresh eyes, just go through your home, and it's amazing what you will come across. And you think, okay, is that taking me where I want to go? Or is that holding me back? So there's a physical item, almost inventory. But then what's a really beautiful thing is, like I said about having the pictures in our wealth area of us going on holiday, you can set your intentions for each of these areas and really use the energy in your home to help you achieve them. So you can do it with visual affirmations, with your artwork and with your pictures, but you can also write them down as well and just, hide them away if you want to, and just really start to get to know these 9 areas of your home and start to build that relationship and just work with them so that you're feeling that your home is supporting you on this journey to whatever intention it is that you want to bring into your life.
I'm off to find my compass. I'm going to be doing this for the rest of the day now. I'm going to be downloading the 9 areas and going, right.
Many people around the world that just say, oh, Kimberly says I've got to do this. And I feel daggers in the back of my head.
No, I think it's great. I think it's brilliant what you're doing, and I'm super fascinated. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time out to kind of chat with me today because, well, I found it fascinating. So I'm hoping everybody else does too. Where can we find you? Where can we follow you?
Oh, Charlie, it's been an absolute pleasure being on here. Honestly, thank you. I've loved our conversation. I've loved how enthusiastic you are for it, and it's just a pleasure to be on here with you. So thank you. I'm the Feng Shui Flow pretty much everywhere apart from TikTok. So I'm sort of on there, but not really. So the Feng Shui Flow on Instagram, the fengshuiflow.com, my website. And I've also got a podcast called the Feng Shui Flow. Surprise, surprise. And that's on Apple and on Spotify as well.
Fantastic. Well, I'll put links to all those in the show notes. And again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today. And I'm sure everyone's going to be super intrigued and out there with their compasses.
Thank you.